Welcome back, everyone. POW Ponder on Weather here. We've got some severe weather we're going to have to deal with over the next couple of days and some record high temperatures, as well as a tropical low down there into the Gulf of Mexico. So let's start off with the overall satellite picture this morning. You can see all these clear skies draped across a good part of the country. That's a dominating ridge of high pressure, and underneath that ridge of high pressure, you've got a lot of sinking air and some record high temperatures that unfolded yesterday as well as into today. You can actually see the disturbance down there into the Gulf of Mexico. A lot of lightning strikes. That's complements of a stalled cold front that's actually kind of backing up. And it, with this ridge over the top, it is definitely helping to lower these pressures down there to the Gulf of Mexico. So it's going to be adding to this instability over the next 24 to 36 hours. And it tries to spin up a tropical low. I think it's going to run out of time, but we've got to be concerned about some inland tornadoes with this type setup heading into the Florida coastline there, especially on the day on Thursday. So let's take a look at the setup yesterday. Wow, we had a lot of tide or record high temperatures across a good part of the country. Denver hit 85. That was their warmest, earliest temperature ever on record. Places into Wyoming hit into the 90s yesterday. And wow, numerous records unfolded across either tide, nearing, or even broken yesterday. And today, I think we'll be adding to those record highs with that ridge of high pressure that just dominating across the middle of the country here. Underneath that, those are 20 to 30 degrees above average temperature. So it's plenty warm across a good part of the country. Really, the only game in town is further south with that tropical low. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel. It's also important to hit the like button as well. It definitely helps out more than you know. So let's take a look at that tropical low heading into tomorrow morning. Here's the latest update on the high resolution guidance. And it's been pretty consistent with this tropical low. It drops it down to a 1,003 millibar low pressure. It's going to be pretty close, guys. It tries to rapidly spin up an area of low pressure to be possibly named a subtropical storm Arlene. It's never happened before in April, but it's got a very, very short window. I don't really think it does it. But if it happens to be named a subtropical storm, little weak 40 mile per hour, it would be taking the name Arlene. But either way, it's going to be dumping some heavier rain, especially along the coastal regions there. So flash flood watches are likely going to be in place, but also concerned about some tropical funnels inland that with this particular setup, especially heading into Florida and going into southern portions of Georgia. Here's the setup on the radar depiction as we get into tomorrow morning. So I do feel that's going to be right off the coast of Louisiana. It's going to be training bands inundating the coastline. So it's far extreme portions just right along the coast. So if you live along the coast, do expect some extremely heavy rainfall with this particular setup, and definitely some isolated small tornadic spin-ups is definitely not out of the question. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center has already highlighted that tornado risk going into tomorrow afternoon, back into portions of, say, like the Tampa area, Tallahassee, and to Jacksonville, heading into Mobile, all the way up into Montgomery. Even portions of Birmingham could get into those tropical type funnels with that coastal low that will be going inland, and that'll be pushing up northeast. So all these areas will be just extended through the day, and heading into Friday time frame will be into the portions of the Carolinas. But for today, look at all those record high temperatures today, and going into tomorrow, this is your Thursday. Wow, guys, all these areas and your circles, that is your, record high temperatures. In fact, we're expecting about 29 of those across these regions. It's very hard pressed. Look at that northern Michigan there, 81 degrees, folks. That is plenty warm, and especially along the eastern seaboard here. Even New York City could top out in the upper 80s tomorrow. That is very warm for this time of year. Easily 20 to 30 degrees above average temperatures. Where it's not above average is out there in Idaho into Montana. Those are high temperatures, folks, 37 degrees. So winter is still trying to hang on up there. They've had a lot of snow this winter, and they've just had a lot of significant systems come in one after another with those troughs and cold fronts. So winter's still continuing to hang on for them. But for the rest of the country, it's pretty spring-like temperatures across a good part of the southeast and much of the southern plains. It just really elevates and heats up once you get into the northern plains, especially across into the upper Great Lakes and heading into the northeast for tomorrow. But there's your rain over the next 48 hours. So really there's not much to speak of under that ridge of high pressure, a lot of that sinking air to deal with. Really further south into the southeast, that's where we're going to have to be dealing with complements of that coastal low with all the heavier rain and predominantly all the rain that's good for basically the lower 48 over the next 48 hours is going to be locked over a good part of the southeast and heading into Florida there. But take a look at Friday. So Friday, we do have a system that's going to be coming in, right? So we got an active dry line again. These are the dew points as you head into Friday evening, early Friday night time frame. Pretty strong indication that, once this coastal low kind of moves away and heads northeast, it'll allow the south winds to come back. So it's a very short, narrow window. You're going to allow these dew points to elevate, go back into the low to mid 60s up here into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, heading into the Oklahoma area as this dry line starts to get active into the heat of the afternoon with diurnal heating. So we do have a conditional risk in place. Now, this looks more than what it's going to probably unfold, but we do have a slight risk in place for portions of central Kansas, portions of central Oklahoma, as well as including the North Texas area with a hatched risk in place. So if storms do pop, they could be some very large hail producers. Now, again, this is a very conditional risk. And what I mean by that is we're going to have a strong capping inversion in place. So storms are trying to rise and penetrate that boundary layer about 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere, but most of them, if not all of them, should be squashed like a pancake and not be able to tower into supercells. But if one or two of those happen to penetrate the boundary layer, boom, those could turn severe quickly. So that's why the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted such a wide area, because really along this boundary, we could have one or two pop. And if one or two pop, those could have some golf ball size hail with it. So you don't know exactly where that may unfold. If it does happen, then that's why they quoted it a conditional risk labeled for your Friday afternoon, Friday time frame. We do have a pretty dominant drought out here in West Texas. That is going to help enhance the capping inversion out here in West Texas, into Western Oklahoma, into Western Kansas. So that, as storms try to fire off the dry line, that's where they're going to have to be dealing with. Here's the latest update from the NAM model showing that pretty extensive capping inversion highlighted over the Metroplex, over Oklahoma, over portions of Kansas. Now, again, as we go into 6-7 o'clock time frame, this is probably going to be an after 6 o'clock time frame event on Friday. If it does actually happen, you can see some weakness with diurnal heating. If we happen to hit convective temperature down here in this area, then one or two supercells can pop in that atmosphere over that short amount of window time frame. Probably about 6 to 9 o'clock in the early evening time frame is probably your most concerned time frame if this does in fact unfold and is able to penetrate the boundary layer down here in portions of Texas and Oklahoma. But more than likely, a lot of you guys aren't going to be seeing anything on Friday. But that's not going to be the case on Saturday. So once that moves out, we have a cold front coming in on the backside, then this trough actually tries to go a little bit more negatively tilted, and it's going to be progressing along into East Texas, into Louisiana, into Arkansas by then. Then it's going to be able to tap into some of this Gulf moisture, and these areas aren't in a drought. So you're not going to have the capping inversion like you are going to be having to deal with into West Texas. So you don't have that security blanket with that capping inversion aloft. So as these storms lift, you get a little bit more moisture to work with too, with those elevated sea surface temperatures down there in the Gulf. And we do have a day 4 risk for severe weather in a good part of Memphis into Paducah, down here into Little Rock. That'll be on the day on Saturday. So I'm more concerned about the Saturday event than I am more concerned about the Friday event, because you're not going to have that capping inversion in place, and you should have more of a widespread event for all 3 modes of severe weather, especially along this boundary into East Texas, probably portions of northern Louisiana, especially into Arkansas, heading into Missouri, into southern Illinois, western Tennessee, western Kentucky, western Tennessee. Those areas are the favorite areas to see that severe weather heading into your Saturday time frame, late evening, late afternoon, early evening time frame, as this progresses eastward. And as it does, this trough actually gets a little bit more amplified as well. It tries to turn even a little bit more negatively tilted. So I think these storms may even try to get stronger as they progress eastward, which is kind of rare. We typically watch them get a little bit weaker as they progress eastward. This case might be actually progressing a little bit stronger as we move closer in time. Now, this won't be until the day on Sunday, but by Sunday, we might have to be dealing with severe storms along the eastern seaboard, places like into South Carolina, into North Carolina, into Virginia, into portions of DC area, and into Delaware. Those areas might be under the gun for all 3 modes of severe storms. This will be on the day of Sunday. We'll have to fine tune this, but it does appear things might be intensifying, might be amplifying further as we get closer to this particular setup. We don't have the Storm Prediction Center has not highlighted this area 5-day out. This is the machine learning model, but all indications are it definitely appears to be Saturday and Sunday are probably going to be your more significant days rather than your Friday time frame. But yeah, this is the latest update from the first 3 months from ending March. We ended with 123 tornadoes on that last day of March timeframe. That ended up being the 4th of all time most significant severe weather days in history for tornadoes. And that also put us number 1 with 410 tornadoes confirmed for January, February, into March. That puts us all time actually beating out 2017. These records date back to 1950, folks. So yes, extremely active, and luckily we have a lull happening right now. But as I showed you, things are going to be starting to ramp up, and I think they actually even ramp up further beyond this week, because looking at some of the extended guidance here, we're going to be watching another significant trough that's going to be coming in off the West Coast. This is going to be able to dip down, bring more cooler conditions out west, and it's going to be amplifying across the middle of the country. And as it does, we'll have to be watching for that 24th, possibly 25th time frame across the middle of the country again as the dew points start to elevate. And look at those dew points surge with the mid-50s surging all the way to the Canadian border, folks. So yes, this is just another time frame we'll have to be watching for possibly more severe storms breaking out across a good part of the country. And beyond that, I think it starts to turn even more active as we end April and going into your early May timeframe. So we have a little bit of a lull right now, but things do look to become more active towards the end of the week, and especially beyond into the next week and heading into your first part of May timeframe. Definitely extreme concern about a very active pattern that looks to unfold again and upcoming in that time frame, and they'll have a lot more moisture to work with by then. So this is we haven't seen some of these dew points as high as of what we are going to be seeing in the first week of May. So obviously you're going to have a lot more instability to work with, a lot more moisture to work with. These temperatures are already elevated. We're already seeing record high temperatures across a good part of the country. The Gulf of Mexico is almost basically untapped. So unfortunately, even though it's a lull right now, conditions are, setting themselves up. By the time it does become active again, the atmosphere is probably going to be a little bit more prime, even more prime than what it was back into your active March timeframe. So that is definitely concerning going forward in the month of May. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me in the next update where I protect you before and after the storm.